First of all, congratulations, Mr. Krabs.
Hello, I like money.
What inspired you to build a second Krusty Krab right next door to the original?
Money?
Unless you've been living under a rock, you probably know that Recaro and BBS recently declared bankruptcy. Initially, I didn't think that these cases were really anything alarming. I mean, BBS is still around, and they've declared bankruptcy 5 times since I've been alive. So the news is worrying, but I didn't lose any sleep over it until I watched a video on the subject, and read a couple articles about the details of each bankruptcy. The situations that led BBS and Recaro to their current state seem eerily similar to what's going on with a lot of other companies in the car scene. Big investment firms saw how successful everyone was in 2020 and wanted to get their grubby little hands in on the action by buying up a bunch of already successful companies. So it only seems right to talk about how greed has no place in the car community, the danger it poses, and how it can be limited to preserve the community we all know and mostly love. Car people and businessmen have always been a bit like oil and water. Large corporations prioritize profit over just about everything else. Comparing that to the car community, where people care much more about creative expression and a sense of community. On paper, it seems like there's no universe in which the two can coexist. Aside from car manufacturers, which are the car scene's original corporate overlords, big corporate money is somewhat new in the car scene. Investment firms buying car-related businesses became a thing in the years leading up to COVID, and really exploded during COVID because everyone was stuck at home with their credit card and a project car on jack stands. However, BBS is one notable exception to that rule. After their first bankruptcy in 2007, they were bought out by a holding firm called Punch International. That started the long 17 years of multiple bankruptcies and ownership changes. Now, Alex Martini's video explains the ins and outs of bankruptcy and equity firms and how they kill off aftermarket brands from the inside out. He did way better than I can hope to explaining all that. So most definitely go watch that video later. But my main takeaway from that video was that big investment firms are coming into the car scene and buying these companies without a knowledge of their consumer base. And an investment firm isn't going to understand why car people can take perfectly good working parts off their car and replace them with other more expensive parts that often do pretty much the same thing. Since they don't understand car people and their motivation is making as much money as possible, they just do what works with every other company they buy. For example, BBS's owners took a big tech approach to marketing and product development. Their big new product is a line of wheels that are all the same BBS specific bolt pattern, and you need to buy a separate BBS branded adapter to make it work on your car. What does that sound like? Oh yeah, the iPhone. While they were focusing on this, they completely ignored what the community actually wanted, which was re-releases of classic wheels, especially ones from the early 2000s. And it's like if Nike, instead of releasing new versions of classic shoes like Jordans and listening to their fans, instead decided to just develop their own version of those funky toe shoes because they're cheaper to produce. They're looking at selling products through strictly a profit lens and not considering what truly compels a person surviving off beans and ramen to buy a $5,000 set of wheels for their Volkswagen. And while YouTube is a different game, I feel like the same rules apply. When companies like Donut and Hoonigan went corporate, they lost a lot of the authenticity and the understanding of their audience that came with being an independent car channel and really made them so special. Again, the reason most car people consume a product, be it YouTube or wheels, is because the product captures their imagination. No car person buys some expensive ass wheels because they come with an adapter that fits their car. They buy them because they look cool or are strong, and if they need to, they make them fit with a spacer or adapter. The same logic applies to car content. Nobody's a true hardcore fan of a YouTube channel because they get a ton of views and are boringly formulaic in their content. They watch it because it inspires them and educates them and is authentic, which is the key thing that most car brands lose from going corporate. They lose the authenticity that can only come from being run by people that are no less passionate than the average car person, except they have unique skill sets that allow them to succeed at content creation or to thrive in the parts business. When corporate money takes over, all that passion and authenticity lost and is replaced by a whole lot of greed. That greed and the following lack of authenticity within these newly corporate YouTube channels and parts manufacturers is the biggest threat to the car scene. However, there is a way to slow this trend and bring the car community back to a healthier, more authentic place. In order to get the car community back to a healthy place, there needs to be that level of authenticity and relatability that helps us as car people feel comfortable buying from a company or watching a channel. And at least on the YouTube side, that's starting to come back. Since I've been watching big time, I feel like they brought back a lot of what made old Donut Media so great. With Zach and Jeremiah's chemistry, and more importantly, the fact that they're doing things that they're actually passionate about, which gives it that important level of relatability. So I think that's what needs to happen in the rest of the car scene. I know big corporate money is very much alluring to many business owners, and I honestly cannot say I blame them for accepting such a life-changing amount of money. But people need to realize that a big investment firm has almost no understanding of how car culture works. Also, I feel like there are going to be less and less buyouts in the next couple of years. 2020 to 2022 was a crazy time for the car community. And as investment firms see the recent failures of BBS and Recaro and the general lack of money floating around, at least compared to a few years ago, they won't want anything to do with the automotive aftermarket. So with that, there looks to be a light at the end of the tunnel. And I hope that the greed within the car scene in the past few years, exhibited by both insiders and outsiders, dies a natural death and we can just kind of focus on having fun. Speaking of fun, I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it's a bit more serious than usual, but it seemed like an important issue to chime in on. So if you made it this far, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.